Hello everyone, this video will be about the installation guide for EchoGuard, in which I will be teaching you how to clone our public repository and get EchoGuard working and running locally on your own computer. Okay, so starting off here on the left tab that I have open, we have gone to the installation guide section of our README that's found in the root directory of our repository, and we're going to be following it throughout this video. So the first thing that we need to do, as seen here, we need to fork the repository. Okay, so let's do that. So if you are in GitHub, you simply need to click this green little code button here, click the drop down, and it will give you a URL that we need to copy. This will be used to clone the repository. So if you are using Windows, what we will do is we will go to whatever directory you want this project to be in. For me, I want it in my downloads directory. So I can simply click this new button here, create a new folder. I can name it my EchoGuard, and this is where the clone of the repository will go. So I can go ahead and open up this folder, and how I personally will be doing it is using git bash. This is how I will clone it, but you can use things like git GUI as well as git desktop if that's what you want to use, but I will be using git bash. So I've opened git in this directory, so now what I simply need to do is clone this repository in it. So I can just write git clone and then copy the link that we or rather paste the link that we had copied earlier. So we can go ahead and do that, and as you can see, everything has cloned in successfully. So now we go into the EchoGuard directory and we have everything that we need. Once again, following the installation guide, that was step number 2. So the next thing that we need to do is actually cd into this directory and set up our backend as well as our front end. So we will go ahead and do that. So as you can see, I have 2 WSL terminals open right now. The one on the left is in the /API directory, which represents the backend, and the other one is in the root directory, which represents the front end. So on the backend, we will focus on the backend first. So we have already cd'd into the API directory. The next thing that we need to do is copy this command right here, and I will also add this flag to it so that I can properly download everything in the requirements.txt file. Obviously, on my local computer, all the requirements are already satisfied, but if you find yourself doing this, it will probably take a couple of minutes to install everything that's needed, and that's located inside the requirements.txt file. So the next thing that we are going to do is attempt to start our Python server with the command found, and that is python3 server.py, or whatever Python version you have here. So we tried it and we get this error, runtime error, missing .env file. Please create a .env file in the project root with the required environment variables. And this is where another section in our README comes in, and that is the required configuration setup. The reason that we are getting this error in the first place is because we have a .env file as well as a static _Gemini _prompt.txt file that we need to define in our repository, because our system expects these files to be present in our repository. So we can go ahead and do that first and follow the required configuration setup part in our README. So as you can see, I have gone ahead and opened VS Code to my clone repositories directory. You can use whatever IDE of choice that you want, but as you can see, following these directions, we have this folder in the root directory here called example, and these are the example files that we need to fill out. So as per the instructions, we need to move both of these files out of the example directory and into the root directory. And once we do this, we can essentially just delete this example folder. We don't need it anymore. It is simply for setup purposes, so we can go ahead and do that. Now, the next thing that we need to do is rename these files to their proper names and not have example in front of them. So this file will just be .env, and then this next file will just be static _Gemini _prompt.txt. And starting off with the .env file, obviously we have 2 environment variables, Gemini API key and then Gemini static prompt. For Gemini API key, you would need to get your own key here. Obviously, we aren't going to provide you with that. Okay, and once you have set that up with your own Gemini API key, we can go ahead into moving into the other file that we need to configure, and that's the static underscore Gemini underscore prompt. And now this text file is just where the Gemini prompt goes, so you can put whatever you want in here. It's whatever Gemini will receive. We aren't going to release our own prompt, but this is where you would do that as well. So once we have both of these files set up, everything should work. So if we go back to our two WSL terminals, we are still in the backend, but if we try to run the same command to run the backend one more time, it should work now. And as you can see, it does work now. We are getting the messages that we want to get when our backend starts properly, which are these messages, just a bunch of debug messages and other messages showing that everything was loaded properly. Now, if we look at our current Gemini prompt.txt file, obviously we just have a dummy prompt, so as you can see, it properly reflects that in the logs where it says that it's loaded a static prompt length of 24 characters, which is the amount of characters found in this file here. So now that we have set everything up, we can actually go back to the installation guide, as you can see that I have done here, and we can actually go on to starting the front end now. So it was in this WSL terminal where I am located in the root directory, and in the root directory we want to run npm install. Now as you can see here, this might take a while to install while we install all of our dependencies, so I will just go ahead and fast forward the video to once those are done. Okay, so npm install has finished running and all of our dependencies on the front end side are downloaded, so now we can go ahead and run npm run dev as seen here. Another thing I forgot to mention, it's seen in our readme, but the backend will run at 8080 and front end will run at port 3000. So if you have other applications on your local machine running in those ports, you might want to change that. So we can go ahead and run npm run dev, and this is what we should see, and it might take a little while, especially the first time that you do so, but this is exactly what you should see. Okay, so once in the terminal it signals that it is ready to start, you can just go ahead and go to localhost 3000, and we should get this compiling message. We will get this warning, which we can ignore, it's not really relevant. And then after a couple of seconds, everything should compile and EchoGuard should open up completely with all of its functionalities, where we can start monitoring, go back, go dashboard. I currently have some things in here, but you can clear all history, etc. And now EchoGuard is up and running successfully.